right, welcome to Town Hall Media's Facebook Live here at CPAC 2017. I'm Guy Benson at townhall.com. My colleague Katie Pavlich at Town Hall, Ed Morrissey at Hot Air, and Caleb Howe at Red State. And guys, let's talk about a year ago today, or a year ago this weekend. Donald Trump pulls out of CPAC.
Right.
Amid all sorts of chaos here. He was worried he was going to get booed. He was still the front runner big time. There was a debate going on in the presidential race. This year, he's the most anticipated speaker as President of the United States tomorrow morning. They had their controversy this year again, but it had nothing to do really with Trump.
Right.
And there's a different vibe around here, a victory vibe, where you had a lot of people just a year ago deeply skeptical of the man who's now the president, and who I think will get a very warm welcome on that stage in the morning. Let's talk about the last year, Ed. What happened?
Why? Just kidding. Go for it.
Well, first off, victory solves a lot of problems in coalitions. It does. It does create some other problems in coalitions, and we're going to start seeing some of that as the agenda rolls out. But right now, we're still in the first flush of taking over the White House, keeping control of Congress, keeping control of a record number of state legislatures across the country. And I think you're right. I think this is going to be a celebratory mood. Vice President Pence will actually be here tonight speaking. This will be the first time in at least, a decade or more, maybe more than that you've had both the sitting president and vice president address CPAC. So that's also something that's going to be, again, adding to the sense of celebration. So yeah, I think that he's going to get a very warm welcome. It's a very different context. And I think what you're going to see here at CPAC is people treating this rationally, i.e. the election's over and now you move on to what is coming next, rather than continuing to relitigate the 2016 election.
Which I think we're happy to do. Right. One thing that's interesting too about the CPAC website is they have a page on the homepage showing CPAC alumni who are now part of the administration. So K.T. McFarland, Tom Price, a number of people who have now either been confirmed to cabinet positions or who are working as senior advisors inside the White House. So that actually shows that even with the controversy of Donald Trump last year and the skepticism about his presidential candidacy and his ability to win, quite frankly, it shows that there is a coalition of different types of conservatives who have been built in the movement, who have been here to talk about their ideas, who are now using what they've learned over the last 4 decades of their careers, and they're now implementing it around a candidate who a lot of people didn't think was a conservative. So that's something to watch for as well in terms of the ideas that are presented every year at CPAC. But as we move forward into the next 4 years, and then of course after President Trump leaves office, who's going to be the next set of people to come through and have that background that was built here?
I got to tell you, I think there's going to be a lot of relitigating of 2016 in the hallways here, in the question and answer periods. There's going to be people fighting it out, battling it out. They've been waiting a year to see these people in person and bring the controversy. I think that's what's going to happen.
Could be. Now, if you wanted to say 2 words that would unite virtually every single person in this building right now, they wouldn't be Donald Trump, they wouldn't be Paul Ryan, they might be Neil Gorsuch.
Yes.
Right? Like, I think there were so many questions and concerns about what President Trump would or would not do if he were elected. One of the promises that he made was, here's my list. It was a list that most conservatives thought was pretty good, and one of the most stellar names on that list was Neil Gorsuch, and that's the Supreme Court pick. The Democrats seem to be in disarray over what they're going to do about that nomination. Are they going to go with a filibuster? Are they going to wait to the next vacancy? The base is demanding one thing, the party tacticians are saying something else. How much do you think that will be played up by Team Trump here, especially since it is the conservative political conference? Are they going to be talking about Neil Gorsuch, every speech they have an opportunity to do so in?
Absolutely, huge. And not just that, but also their national security team. I mean, Mattis and now H.R. McMaster. Michael O'Hanlon, who's not exactly a dyed-in-the-wool conservative activist, wrote in USA Today this morning, I believe, that you have to take a look at Donald Trump's national security team and diplomatic team, and it is a stellar team, and they are doing a very good job. And he says, you can't make any excuses for the disarray and the rhetoric that's being used and some of the nonsense that's gone on over the last month. But on the ground, especially abroad, this team looks very solid and it's very impressive. And that was Michael Hanlon in USA Today. So I think it's not just Neil Gorsuch, although I think that that's going to be the main thing. I think they're going to be talking about their national security team with Mattis, John Kelly, H.R. McMaster, and I think that's going to be very impressive here as well.
Well, and one thing too that we've seen over the past month of President Trump's his presidency is this narrative that everything is falling apart every day. You know, people inside the administration on the team are fighting with each other. There's rumors of so-and-so getting fired and being replaced right away, even though they've been only on the job for a week, so to speak. I think a lot of that is overblown and just hot air. I mean, hot air, pun intended. People tend to forget the news of previous administrations in the first month because in a 24-hour news cycle we forget what happened yesterday. But the Obama administration had a lot of this type of chaos as well when President Obama took office for the first time. It's just a natural progression of moving from a Republican to a Democrat presidency, and also building a team and making sure you have the people in place that you want to be in place. Yesterday, one of the big topics of conversation at the briefing was, why is the administration kind of micromanaging these deputy positions in the State Department, in the Department of Defense? And their argument is, look, we're a month in, and we want our personnel to be policy. We're not just going to allow any of these positions to be filled, especially after we've seen all of these leaks coming out. They want to make sure that they have a team in place now, get the bumps out of the road now, so that the next 6 months, 4 years are a little more smooth sailing.
I think that's the question that needs to be answered here. I don't know if it's going to be, but it's about national security. Is the intelligence agencies, the leaks, what are they going to do about that, and how are they going to make peace?
Yeah.
One question for you, Cal. Red State was probably, of our sites, the harshest with Donald Trump throughout the campaign. Have you been, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being he's our worst nightmare, 10 being actually never mind, get me a red hat, based on these first couple weeks, how would you grade the Trump administration from a conservative perspective, from a very Trump skeptical perspective?
Good picks, bad controversies, not great press management, 5.
Okay. So
by the way, he did have a red hat on election night.
I did that on election day.
Yeah,
as I was wearing all year long, I said.
Yes, of course. So we talked at the very beginning of our conversation about how winning really solves a lot of problems. I saw a data point in a Pew poll yesterday that knocked me down, basically, because if you look at the approval ratings of Republicans in Congress and Republican leaders in Congress, for the last couple of years, they've been really bad. Now, the Republicans keep winning, but the base in particular, because the Democrats all disapprove of the Republicans, of course, but the Republican base disapproves of the Republican leadership. Their approval rating was somewhere around 30% among Republicans. The new Pew poll among the Republican base has McConnell and Ryan at 68% approval. Is that significant? Is that something that they can use and wield as they try to herd these cats? Because this agenda is aggressive and it's complicated and it's messy. Obamacare repeal is going to be tough. There are different ways to do it, and people saying, I want this, no, I want that. How much is the restored credibility of leadership going to play a role? And frankly, how much is the president going to have to play a role once there's a plan on the table to make sure that there aren't too many stragglers? Because if there's stragglers, the thing falls apart. Because the Democrats will pounce.
Well, first up, I think, and to some degree, some of that huge bump up in approval rating might have to be looked at as a comparative to Donald Trump being in the White House. So that might be some traditional Republicans viewing McConnell and Ryan as sort of the stabilizers of the Republican Party. So I would be interested to see how that works on a longer timeline. But yeah, I think the fact that McConnell and Ryan McConnell has played the confirmation game brilliantly.
Yeah.
And Ryan is holding together his coalition very well. So some of that is obviously also based on performance. And I think it does. I think that it, especially in the House, I would say, it quells the potential for rebellions from various caucuses and factions in the House, at least in the short run. Yeah. But I think the real test, like you said, is really going to be Obamacare repeal. What form does it take? Because that's the one issue that I can see, maybe tax reform down the road, that could really split the factions of the populists versus the conservatives for a long period of time.
And on that note, really quickly, I think also the way that Democrats have been behaving since President Trump was elected really plays into looking at both sides of the political aisle in D.C. and going, who are the adults? And maybe I, as a Republican, wasn't very happy with the way that the establishment McConnell and establishment Paul Ryan were doing things, but compared to what Elizabeth Warren is doing and compared to the 60 plus Democrats who refused to show up to the inauguration, I'm actually pretty happy with the way that they're going about this. And even if they have disagreements with the White House, they're willing to do it in an adult way. They're not throwing tantrums on the Senate floor.
And just, talk of impeachment at the DNC chairmanship debate yesterday. I mean, they're a big part of their party is deranged, and their base wants political blood.
And they're going to impeach the DNC chair?
They should just get rid of the DNC.
I think that already happened. That basically happened last year with poor Debbie. But I think Ed's right for some Republicans. So if I were responding to that poll, I would be giving higher marks to Ryan and McConnell because I view them as stabilizing forces, potential countervailing weights when necessary to the president. I suspect that I'm a minority in that respect. My guess is the beef with the Republican leadership over the last couple of years, and a lot of it is unfair because we have a constitution and balance of power, and there's only so much you can do. But the beef from the grassroots was they're not doing anything. They're not getting any results. They're letting Obama have everything, which is hilarious because the Democrats think the Republicans said no to everything. So there's these completely disparate narratives. But now Trump's the president. There's the executive orders. The Congressional Review Act has been revved up. They're actually doing some stuff. And people are finally feeling like that itch, that 8-year itch is being scratched, accomplishments, and therefore thumbs up, right?
But it's only being scratched by executive orders and by the executive branch.
For the most part so far.
Well, the Congressional Review Act stuff.
Yeah, that's
true.
Congress.
But the fact that they're dropping the ball on Obamacare right now, it doesn't even matter if they're legislatively dropping the ball. They're dropping the ball, getting the message out. People, we get every day at Red State. People are like, why aren't they doing something? I thought we just won. Why do we still have Obamacare? They've got to make a move. They've got to make a public move.
I do find it a little bit embarrassing that after 7 years of complaining about Obamacare, that Republicans still haven't been able to coalesce around a single plan. To be ready to go when victory was there. It's almost like they never expected to win again.
They didn't
they wouldn't be able to just come in and here's the solution.
There are plans. There just isn't a united one. It's come on.
And pick one. But you've had so long to do it.
But part of the process in Congress is to pick apart different plans and then put something together that is a compromise between these plans too. We forget that that's part of the legislative process. Is the Senate? The Senate will have a couple of plans. The House will have a couple of plans, and you work your way through those things. What I would say that the problem with Republicans prior to this, and your point being that we had a constitution, is that Republicans were promising things that they couldn't possibly deliver under that constitution. That's the reason why they had a credibility gap until now. And now they have the opportunity to deliver. They better.
Yeah. Or you talk about torches and pitchforks revolt.
Right. Absolutely.
You promised Obamacare repeal. You have the opportunity to do it. And I do think that if you talk to Paul Ryan and his people, you talk to Mitch McConnell and his people, they are waiting to get a plan with enough buy-in and also presidential buy-in where they can roll it out with good messaging and do a full court push. Because what is coming from the left is non-stop, full-stop demagoguery.
I would say killing old people.
One other thing I would say in the Republican Congress's defense so far in terms of something they've done is, and Ed briefly referenced this earlier, the confirmation process, they've been pretty good. And when Democrats have refused to show up for hearings, they've said, fine, if you guys want to escalate at every turn, we're going to punch you back in the face, 12-0 vote, good night. And I think the base is finally, the Republicans between McConnell holding no hearings on Merrick Garland under the Biden rule, under the Schumer rule, it does feel to me like finally the Republicans are playing by the Democrats' rules to their game that they escalated every turn. And the Republicans saying, fine, if you want to do this to us, turnabout is fair play. And that's something that the base has been insisting upon and craving, I think, for a number of years.
We'll find out how that appetite is being satisfied while we're here at CPAC, because this is the base.
Republicans have been doing a good job of reminding everyone that the reason why they can do all of those things that you just discussed discussed
Yep.
is thanks to Democrats like Harry Reid who set them up for that failure.
I actually think that Harry Reid should be here at
Yeah.
CPAC.
Yeah, he should give a
He
speech.
would get
That's
a
a lot
huge
of
ovation.
great
There could be a
stuff,
thank you
Harry.
Harry Reid reception.
Senator Reid, come on
Maybe
down.
They could be the Harry Reid Memorial Fitness Center or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
No cables though,
No,
or bands, something
No,
that can
no,
bring.
no elastic band.
If that's really what
we are
happened.
definitely not reveling in that, though. Okay, so
Definitely not.
closing thoughts. Aside from the president tomorrow morning and our wonderful panel at 4 p.m. today, breakout panel about how to cover the Trump administration. Aside from those two things, what are you most looking forward to at 2017 CPAC? We'll just go around the table.
Actually, I think I'm interested to see what Mike Pence is going to say tonight.
You took mine.
Yeah.
I actually picked the combination on Caleb's laptop, so I knew he was going to say it. But I think Pence is a guy who's been in CPAC, a few times. He knows what it's like to be at CPAC, and I think more and more you're going to see him as the envoy to the conservative movement.
Yeah.
And we're already starting to see that in Pence's actions. And so I'm interested to see where he goes with this speech tonight. I'm sure it's going to be very supportive and all that, but what I think you're going to see from him is he's going to really hammer on the conservative goals of this administration. And then we'll see if Donald Trump then tomorrow comes in and talks about the populist goals to sort of make sure that everybody's brought in and included.
We'll probably hear about his electoral win.
I think so too. Massive, tremendous,
So big, one of the
tremendous.
Get here early so you can make sure you get through the security and come to that. But my favorite thing about CPAC every year is the people who are here. It's 50% college kids. I like seeing what they're interested in, what makes them excited about coming here every single year. They come from across the country. They bunk up in their hotel rooms and make it a point to be here. There's people who you see coming through at different conferences who are really interested in being part of this movement long term. So seeing them and understanding what they're interested in, I think is a fun part for me.
Well, I was going to say finding out about the Pence-Mattis alliance and what kind of power they have in the administration. But instead, I'm going to say the costumes that people wear. That's what I'm the most excited about. Big hats, big long white beards, the whole 9 yards.
And by the way, and you seem to be very smug about the fact that you managed to figure out his password. Everyone knows his password to his computer is MAGA. It has been for 2 years.
Hashtag.
Hashtag MAGA.
All right, guys. So that basically wraps it up for us. 4 p.m. will be in sort of one of the breakout centers under the stairs, kind of on that main ballroom level, talking about how to cover the Trump administration in this wild media age without being a hack in either direction, which is actually quite challenging. So we hope to see many of you there if you happen to be here at CPAC. If not, every day, please log on, townhall.com, hotair.com, and redstate.com. Guys, this was fun.
Yeah.
And thank you to Facebook, and thanks for watching.
Bye.
Thank you.